everybody, it's Miss White. Last time we talked about 4 architecture styles. Today we're going to use them by sketching them out. The 4 architecture styles from last time were Roman, Persian, Gothic, and finally modern. I told you that these were just 4 out of hundreds and thousands of architectural styles. The reason why I chose these was because they're some of my personal favorite. If you find another that you also love, feel free to share. I would like to talk to you about rule number 1 in architecture. Whenever you're looking at an architecture drawing, the number 1 thing to focus on is line quality. This is not the only way to do architecture, but it's one popular way. You'll find that line quality is important, and also getting measurements in there, getting that straight line when it's supposed to be straight. Also showing things like scale. Scale is how big or how small something is. So now that we're getting an idea of general architecture, today I'm just going to teach you how to break some amazing structures into some very simple shapes. Today we're not going to be focusing on windows and doors or details or even landscaping. Today we just focus on the building structure. Every time you do architecture, I recommend paying a little bit of attention to line quality. I like to start off with a writing utensil that is very skinny. That's medium, and then something that's thick. Now, if you don't have skinny, medium, thick, you could just use any one of these 3. Do another layer, or maybe how hard you're pressing, because that will help indicate the different sections. It helps separate the sections, and it also shows the person looking at your art and shows you the kind of notes you're taking and how you're showing each section special. If every section of your building has the same line quality, then none of the parts are really going to stand out. Another route you can go is if you just want to use pencil and use thick and thin, or and just use that with a marker. So that could be thin, medium, and then this for thick. And then another way that you can go is just do pencil. That could be your thin and medium. And then instead of thick, you can use color. So whatever you decide, make sure whatever you're drawing with allows you to do 3 different line thicknesses. We're gonna start off with Roman here. In order to give you an idea of what I'm looking at while I'm drawing, I'm going to put a picture up on the side of the screen for you. And we're gonna get started. My structure first is going to need some guidelines. I'm looking at this structure the whole time. When I draw all the details, I am not going to focus on anything but the outer shape of my building. My first building I'm drawing is the Colosseum. It happens to be a wider structure, so I'm going to turn my paper going this way. The first order of business is actually starting off as light as possible still, in case we make a mistake at first. Of course, we're going to put in those thick lines later, but for now we want everything to be nice and light in case we make a mistake, and just to keep fixing our lines. I'm making a line where the top of my structure is going to be, a line where the bottom of my structure is going to be, and a line on the right, and a line on the left. Now that I decided how the structure will fit into the space, it's time to get drawing. I'm looking at the angle here, and I'm starting from left to right and also going top to bottom. So left to right, top to bottom. I'm reading it like a book. And each time I look, it's kind of like I'm reading, and I'm getting more information as I go along. Like I said, I'm going to start off really light in case I make a mistake. Architecture especially, you want to get those straight edges. I recommend using something like a ruler, or alternatively something just with a straight edge, just like this. That'll help a lot. Because I have a ruler, I'm going to use one for a bit, and then I'll switch over to other materials as well. So rulers, they need to stay flat. You need to hold them flat. And when you're measuring, you want to keep comparing. How big is this section compared to that section? Right now I'm looking at the space between the end of the structure here and the building. I notice that this line goes straight, And now I'm going to freehand this curve that's happening. Notice the angles. Notice where it dips down and how far. Now I'm using graph paper because graph paper helps me measure. I don't have to think as much to know what's taller and what's shorter. But if you want to use regular paper, that will work great too. I noticed I made the gap too large. And I'm going really very quickly here. If something's curving down, you're going to want to make that happen in your artwork. I'm working on the side here, noticing when it dips in, noticing when it dips out. If it's supposed to be straight, make it straight. I don't really see much of the bottom here. So what I am going to do is just do the little bit of the bottom that I see. When architects do their lines, it can start off really messy at first, especially since you're drawing lightly. As you go in and fix areas, you're going to want to make your lines look more confident, less hairy. When I say hairy lines, I mean making multiple lines like this. We want to avoid that as we're revising and refining and finishing up the main structure. You want your lines to look more crisp and confident like this. So less lines like this and more lines like this as you go in and fix. Right now I'm still in the beginning stage, so it's fine if I'm making my lines a little hairy as I'm figuring everything out. I'm not adding the windows and doors yet, but what I am going to do is I'm going to section this off into the layers that it needs to go in. I'm looking at the first half and I'm keeping it very simple. Top half, noticing the angles and how they scoop. If there's a balcony ledge in the picture and you need to make a balcony ledge in your art. This is going to help us know where to add those windows and doors. Oh, if something doesn't look quite right, I go back in and I measure. And here we are, our 4 different kinds of architectural styles. We have our Roman, 2 Roman. We have Persian. We did Gothic building. And we did modern. And we did it all by just breaking each building into a few simple shapes. Join us next time when we begin to add windows and doors. Thank you.